Hi everyone, welcome to your online classroom experience. Today we're gonna use Microsoft Excel to actually plot a graph. So if you have a computer or laptop with you, open up Microsoft Excel program. Now the best thing about this video is you can pause and stop it anytime you want. So if you encounter some difficulties or challenges in trying to set up certain data or the graph, you can actually pause it and then come back to the video again. So if you have any more questions, do feel free to approach your teacher or even your classmates. There will be a tutorial, that's it, exercise G7.2. Remember to complete it and email your work to your teacher. Now please don't print them out, okay, save the trees. Okay, and here's Pikachu wishing you all the best, okay, hoping that you will catch all of them. Okay, so moving on to lesson objectives. Today there's actually only one lesson objective, that's presenting data in an Excel graph. So the first part is actually more of how do I actually set up the data. The second graph is to plot a scatter graph, otherwise known as XY graphs. Okay, and along the way, I'll also teach you how to actually get a line of best fit, okay, with the equation calculated by the program. Now, tips, right, will be given to you along the way. How do I format font? How do I root something, from CO2? How do I make the 2 into a subscript or V3? All right, how do I change the 3 to a superscript? And I also teach you how to use this very effective and useful tool, so called transpose, to actually present your data. Now, before we begin, I have a question for you, or rather, two questions. Number one, why do we use a scatter plot graph to actually present the data that is given to us in today's tutorial? Why don't we use a line graph? Okay, so I hope after this exercise you may want to read up a little bit more about these two different types of graphs. So let's move on to data setup. So how do I present the data in Excel? Now, very simply, you have to actually key in two rows of data. So first, the top row, that will be your x-axis, and the bottom row will be your y-axis. So this is for a general data. We're not even talking about z-axis. That will be something a little bit more off scale. Okay, so we're just going to focus on two axes. Now, before we start, independent variable, can you recall? Is it the x-axis or the y-axis? Same thing for the dependent variable. Please spend some time to think about it. Okay, it shouldn't take you too long. The x-axis is actually your independent variable, and your y-axis is used to actually plot out your dependent variable data. Okay, so over here, I have prepared some data of my personal savings when I reach 80 years old. Okay, these are all fictional, okay, this is not real. So I'm gonna select the data here. Okay, so make sure it's selected, okay, and right click, copy. Okay, okay, so it has already been copied. Okay, then I need you to go to an empty page and I'm gonna ask you to paste it down. Okay, now if you notice, alright, the data is presented not in this format, right? Okay, so question number one, are you gonna copy everything one by one? 0, and then after that you're gonna shift it 5. Are you really gonna do that? It's gonna be very time consuming. So there's a very fast way called transpose. So what you do is you select the cells, right click, copy, okay, right click onto an empty area, go to paste special, click on transpose, and there you go. Okay, so this is a very simple graph. So I'm gonna just plot this data out. So I'm gonna highlight the cells. Okay, insert, scatter, okay, scatter with smooth lines and markers. Okay, so here you go. It's very quickly. Okay, you should be able to get a graph. Now, if you don't like color, you can actually change it. Okay, this is for your personal preference. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the different parts of a graph. Okay, so over here, I have all these lines and grids. This is actually the grid lines. So I can actually add minor grid lines. Okay, and even my horizontal. Okay, to make it more look exactly like your graph paper. Okay, I'm going to enlarge this graph. Okay, so you can see it a bit better. Okay, so sometimes I don't need my label, so I can just click on it and hit the delete button. Okay, so take up more space. Now, what I'm lacking over here is first I need a proper title. So I'm gonna click on this title and change it to graph of personal savings and Singapore dollars against time in years. Okay, so very simple graph title. So it's always the graph of your y-axis against your x-axis. So I need to tell my audience what is actually my legend. Okay, so my data label, so axis title, I go down to primary horizontal. Okay, and I'm gonna change this to time bracket years. Over here, I'm gonna change it to axis title, rotated view to save up a bit more space, and I'm gonna change this to personal savings Singapore dollars. Okay, now you notice it's a bit small, so what you can do is you can click on this and enlarge, okay, the font. Same thing for your horizontal axis. Okay, same, you can do this for the values as well. Okay, so once this is done, okay, I can actually add in a trend line. So this is called my line of best fit. So I'll add a trend line. Okay, set intercept equals 0 and display my equation on the chart. Okay, and if you take a look here, there will be an equation calculated by Excel. Okay, so this is the equation that you can use to input any x-axis data or y-axis data to calculate vice versa. Okay, so this is one example. Now let me move on to one of the example in G7.1 tutorial, okay, which we did it previously. So the tutorial required you to plot a graph of volume against height based on the values given in table 1. So my first question is this: which is my x-axis and which is my y-axis? Okay, so shouldn't take you too long. Okay, your x-axis should actually be your height in cm and your volume in cm cube. So I was just mentioning like a few minutes ago, like how do I change the cube into the 3 into a cube? So I highlight it, right click, format cell, superscript it, and okay, there you go. Okay, so I have this data, so I have to arrange it properly. So I have already did it earlier to save some time, so it's over here. Okay, so I'm gonna plot a graph here. So my x-axis is my h, so I'm gonna drag my volume down. Okay, so this is correct. And right click, insert, scatter. Okay, so I'm gonna have a graph here. Okay, I'm gonna just remove this legend. Now I don't really like the grid lines, so I'm gonna remove this, change the graph title, graph of volume against height. Okay, so same thing, I'm gonna change this to a superscript. Okay, and I'm gonna add in my layout, axis title at the bottom. Okay, this will be my height in centimeter, and my y-axis, my vertical axis, into volume, alright, in cm cube. So same thing, I can change this. Okay, now, so once I have this, I can right click, I can add a trend line, set intercept equals 0, so the data fall into x comma y 0 comma 0, and to display the equation on the chart. Okay, so this is actually the equation that is determined, okay, by the software. So same thing, you can input in any x and y data and you can obtain vice versa data as well. So let's just show you one last tip before I go. So let's say I need CO2, okay, and I can change it to a lower script. So I'm gonna change it to a subscript, okay, and you can get your carbon dioxide gas. So we have superscript over here, and we have subscript over here. So I'm gonna delete this. Okay, I'm gonna come back to this. So back to food for thought. Why do we use a scatter plot graph to present relationship in the data? Why can't we use a line graph? Okay, so I hope you have fun. with today's classroom experience on Microsoft Excel. Okay, and have a nice day. Bye.